Hello, how you doing? Welcome to my floor. It is currently the middle of the night. It is 12:30 in the morning on the 23rd of March. And technically, 2 days ago, on the 21st, I finished editing part 2 of the 6th draft of my book. It was quite unexpected. I was doing another vlog thinking that I still had time to put in and film more clips before I finished with part 2, which I was gonna end the video when I finished editing part 2 of my book. And I finished editing a chapter, went to go find the next one for part 2, and realized that all of the chapters for part 2 were ticked off. They were done. I edited all of them. I did not nearly have enough clips to turn it into a whole vlog, so we're starting over for part 3. Draft 6 is the last draft before I start sending my book to agents, which is really exciting but also really nerve-wracking because I'm really just trying to tie up all of the final loose ends and make this book as good as it can get before I send it off to agents. That's all good and well, but a part of making this book better also involves cutting as many words as I can. For my own sanity and just me not wanting to put that number on the internet, I'm not going to say how much draft 5 of this book actually was. What I can say is that it's already 4,000 words shorter purely in line edits. I have ish 3 to 4 things that I know with 100% certainty that I want to cut. These are quite big things and are going to bring down the word count quite a bit. Hopefully more, maybe more. I hope more. I'm going to try my darn best to do more than that. Part 2 had a lot of cutting opportunities, and again, that was purely line edits and just me seeing how can I rearrange a couple of things to make things shorter. I had always in previous drafts kind of looked into, okay, how can I make this book shorter as more of a side project, if you will? But I have never done, at least not for this book, a draft specifically dedicated to cutting words. It wasn't that the book was bad in any way, shape, or form before these words were cut, but the book flows a lot better already just with what I have managed to cut. I think in total I even managed to cut 2 full chapters at one point. Part 3 really starts to spice things up, so I'm hopeful that now that the chapters are gonna get longer, maybe I'll be able to keep up the trend of finding whole chapters to cut. We'll see. I'm thinking of maybe 1. Maybe. That's a really big maybe. So, part 3 in draft 5 is currently 39,219 words. That's the amount I would get if I were to copy and paste everything. The things that I want to cut, I think, start trickling in part 3. Like the major things. So my hope is that that is actually going to happen. That my prediction is right. I have horrible memory. So I don't know exactly what they're going to trickle in. So hopefully that is going to enable me to cut a ton, along with just the line edits that I'm going to be continuing to do. So I'm going to start on part 3 tonight. I wasn't initially sure if that was what I was going to do or if I was going to give myself a rest day. The thing is, yesterday, before midnight, that whole day was spent gaming. I met with my social worker and just relaxing, really, just watching YouTube and just browsing the internet as one does, I feel like I'm ready to get back to work. Like there's something itching in me to saying, get back to work, like you're ready, get back to work. I have been editing for quite a few hours. I'm talking a bit more quietly because I don't want my downstairs neighbor to wake up, but I've been editing for quite a few hours. So far, this first chapter has ish the same word count. I managed to merge the two scenes that make up this chapter, which wasn't too hard, although I did almost get overwhelmed there for a second, because why not? Merging 350 words into a 3.9k scene, that's the reason for a freak out, right? So I had to make an actual mini to-do list for this one task. I tend to do this a lot when I get overwhelmed. I will just break it down into very specifically every tiny step that I need to do to accomplish this one task, so that I can literally just take it off as I go, because when you're overwhelmed, the tiniest little thing can just seem so overwhelming. So I made a little to-do list for myself, just literally to accomplish this one little task. Just the preparation of me going to merge these two scenes. Copy and paste the second scene into the draft 6. Like, separate my screens so that I have both of them to look at the same time. Which scene to put left, which scene I was gonna put right. Highlight the parts that I wanted to keep. Transfer and implement these parts that I wanted to keep one by one. Delete scene 1 document, which is the scene that I was gonna merge with scene 2. Rename the document from scene 2 to scene 1. It actually really helps. So, it sounds dumb, but it genuinely helps. This is one of the few scenes that I've remembered from every draft and kind of can tell you, like, oh, this is what it looked like in draft 1, this is what it looked like in draft 2, this is what it looked like in draft 3. And that usually enables me to go a little bit faster. Again, my memory is absolute crap because of my health conditions. Horrible memory actually is part of CFSME because of the fatigue. So I often go into writing and scenes, even if I have revised them 100 of times, having no clue what I'm getting myself in for. Sometimes that helps because that means that I don't have to take as long of a break between drafts to distance myself from the story. Other times, it really doesn't help because it makes it so much harder to remember details. It has its pros and its cons. Overall, I would still like a better memory. The word count has kind of gone up and down so far. At one point, I was almost 150 words that I had added. Now, the scene has 100 words less, so that's where you can kind of tell how this is going. I'm hoping later in this scene to be able to cut some words. I have a very specific point in mind. I'm almost scared that near the end of the scene, because there's a confrontation between two characters, that I might end up adding words. So I'm a little bit nervous for that. However, I'm not gonna bother with that anymore tonight. Like I said, it's past 3 a.m. It is 3, can you see that even? 3:27 a.m. Almost 3:30. I need to get ready for bed. I need to go to bed. I need to take my meds and go to bed. I am way too excited for 1 a.m. I am trying so hard to be quiet because I live in an apartment and I don't want my downstairs neighbor to wake up. But you know that excitement when you figure out this major part of the book? Well, major, it feels major. And it's like you've been trying to figure it out for the longest time, but nothing ever felt 100% right. And now you figured it out and it feels 110% right. That's where I'm at. So I started out writing today. I didn't write anything yesterday just because I had other things that I needed to do. But I just started writing, give or take, an hour and a half ago. And because I'm now officially in part 3, I was like, you know what, let me look specifically at the list of things that I had to cut. Because I just want to take another look at it, feel a little more stable, if you will, before I continued editing. Just to have a refresher of things to look out for. So that was all good and well. And then I came across this one thing that I know that I wanted to cut. And like always, there was this little nagging in the back of my head and in my gut that I was like, no, I don't want to 100% delete this. I want to minimize as much as I can, but I don't know what to do to make it work so that it takes up less space without fully deleting it. And it was like there was this nagging at the back of my head, like I knew what I had to do, I just had to work it out in order to figure it out. So it was like this nagging at the back of my head of like, if I sit down right now to work this out, the answer will come to me, and it did. There's not a lot of notes on here, but I promise you, I could not write this fast enough once I figured it out. So instead of deleting this concept in its entirety, which I was initially gonna do, I'm gonna rework it. It's not going to be a whole plot line anymore. I'm gonna have it mentioned in one scene in part 3, not part 2, I was gonna say part 2, it's part 3. And then again, after a very crucial part of the book, where I'm gonna mention it again for give or take one scene, where it's gonna have more importance, but only in that specific moment, in that specific scene. I can still cut, Jesus Christ, a lot by just doing that. I was looking at all of the chapters and everything that I could delete if I reworked it in the way that I have it in my head, and I can still cut so much, and it actually opens up room for some conversations that I've been wanting to put in between two very specific characters that I was like, I don't have room. I cannot afford to make this book even a smidge longer, because then it's gonna throw off my timeline, it's gonna throw off my continuity, it's gonna throw off everything. And now I have found room for all of it, and it fits, and it's the place where the room where it has opened up is absolutely perfect. I am ecstatic. This is quite literally perfect, or at least the closest to perfection that I could get in terms of an outcome for this issue. This is not necessarily how I expected this writing session to go. I was expecting to continue where I left off in my last writing session, which was to finish chapter 17. Somehow I ended up with this. That truly just shows you how unpredictable writing and creative writing can truly be. I love that you can't even tell that I am this close to bursting into tears from pain. I love that you just can't even tell. It is the next evening / night, and I honestly do not have the energy or the capacity to get up and get my tripod at the moment, so this is the best that you're gonna get. I'm trying to write, as is evident by me having my notebook on my lap, which I'm gonna put over here while I talk. And I am almost done with chapter 17, finally. I didn't get to write very much last night just because my symptoms were really, really, really bad. It seems that both actually working out yesterday's plot point revelation and the excitement that came from it drained my battery to below 0 because I was basically a zombie for the rest of the night. I have been writing though for the last few hours, and I am how many paragraphs away? Like 2 or 3 paragraphs away from finishing this chapter. I'm just trying to work out something for this specific confrontation that these two characters are having, and then I'm done. Here's the sad part, outside of the fact that my fibromyalgia is killing me to hell and back. I barely managed to cut anything. The original scene / chapter was 4,053 words. And now it is at 4,006. I had several points where I managed to cut something, but each time I ended up just putting in more words elsewhere to bring up the word count. Good thing is that the word count didn't actually go up. So I guess I'm going to take that as a victory or something. I don't have the energy today. I really don't. Oh my god, even my ears hurt. Everything hurts. At one point, this scene did almost have 200 words extra from the starting point. So at least we're not at that point anymore, which is a good thing. But I would have liked to cut more. My logic kind of was like, hey, this is a 4,000 word chapter. That is really long for me, which means that I will most likely be able to cut something. To give an estimate, 2,000 words is average to even slightly above average for me when it comes to a chapter. So 4,000 words is very, very long, especially because it is all in one single scene as well. This is the longest scene that I have ever written. That tells you a lot. So I was sitting here thinking like, oh yeah, I'll be able to cut some words from that, and the fact that I couldn't is both impressive and disappointing. Because I was really hoping to be able to cut some things, and I wasn't. I was able to put in the words that I put in, like the new ones, to better use than the words that I cut from the scene. Overall, this wasn't as successful as I hoped it would be with this chapter anyway, so kind of disappointed, but considering where it was heading at one point, with the scene being 200 or 300 words longer, I'm not gonna complain. Just looking at it from the perspective of wanting to cut as many words as I can is disappointing. That I can't even cut anything from the longest scene in my book. I'm probably just gonna finish this up and be done for today. Maybe I'll write some more later. I don't know. Part of me is saying just be done. for today, and another part of me is like, no, keep going. You're on a roll. Despite the pain, I love that how any person who does not have chronic pain, if they were to experience this, would be like, I am laying in bed, not moving a muscle, and I am sitting here genuinely working for the last 3 hours. It's been 10 minutes. I finished the scene, and I added words. At the last second, I added words. Damn it. Damn it, damn it, damn it. I feel absolutely gorgeous. I'm not gonna lie, I feel gorgeous right now. These last 24 hours have been quite big, and not just in terms of writing. So I thought I'd give a bit of an update. Here's the thing, I did write yesterday. However, I didn't work on At the Mercy of the Devil. I have this other project, a novel, that is currently in the drafting stage. However, it has been very hard to write for a couple of reasons. The overarching theme of it being that I don't know this project very well, and it's making it very hard to write, and I have so many ideas that are all jumbled around in my head that I'm struggling putting anything down on a page. So I haven't worked on it for a year? Like, consistently worked on it for a year. And these last few days, I've been feeling like a nagging at the back of my head to go back to that project and work on it, which is what I ended up doing yesterday instead of working on At the Mercy of the Devil. In the long run, I don't think that it was a bad thing, just because I feel more energized today to actually work on At the Mercy of the Devil. So that's a good thing. I ended up working for 4 hours yesterday without a break or anything, which is quite long for me, because usually I need quite a bit of breaks when I'm writing, unless I have this like really specific type of writing session where I start and I get so absorbed in whatever I'm writing that I just can't stop, which is very much what happened yesterday. I was writing and writing and writing, and the next time I looked at the clock, somehow we were 4 hours later. I was completely disoriented and became all of a sudden very aware of how tired I was. It didn't leave me that much time to de-stress before I went to bed, and today was quite a special day. So I imagine that I'm gonna have a crash later. I finally got my wheelchair today. For anyone who doesn't know, I have POTS, which the basic gist of it and the reason that I have the wheelchair is that each time I stand up, my blood pressure drops to the point where I can possibly faint. It's gotten so bad that I have become housebound if it comes to any situation where I need to walk. I can go in the car, I can go to a restaurant and sit down, but anything else that involves standing, out of the question. Which is usually why I can stay home. And at one point was completely housebound. So a couple of months ago, I started looking into getting a wheelchair. And today, we picked up the wheelchair. I'm renting it on a month-to-month basis. And it is standing downstairs in our hallway right now, accessible for whatever I needed. I'm so excited. And today, as well, that wheelchair allowed me to go shopping for new clothes. I'm actually wearing one of those new clothes right now because I just got home. I haven't felt this healthy, I guess, in a very long time. Not just healthy, just normally on trips like that, it is me freaking out the whole time because I feel like I'm going to faint. I would have to lie down for 5-6 hours and still feel absolutely miserable afterwards, with usually a lot of pain like I had a few days ago. I feel fine now. I'm a bit tired, yeah, sure. I still have CFSME, that is always going to stay. And this was exertion nonetheless, so yeah. But it's not as debilitating. I can still go on with my day and do things, which I'm not used to be able to do. It's a very weird but good feeling. It feels crazy. It feels unreal. Because this is like the point where I'm no longer housebound. That doesn't mean that I'm gonna go out every day and do things, for two reasons. A, I'm still chronically ill, and B, I am still a major introvert. I don't wanna. No thanks. I still prefer to stay at home than go out. But the option is there now, and that is huge. So I haven't really thought to update in these last few days, because these last few days have been a lot. And frankly, it was not on my list of priorities. I have been writing though. I haven't been neglecting my writing like I have been neglecting this, so on that path we're still good. However, I have had to change tactics multiple times. Well, tactics maybe is not the right word, but literally nothing has gone according to plan, including with my writing. I have found something else pretty big that I can delete. I was working on a scene, and then halfway through, I started to realize that this new plot point element of the story that scene was trying to introduce wasn't needed at all. I have a whole list of scenes where this particular element / character is mentioned, and where I can chop and delete them. It just what I've already deleted, because I'm just gonna have to keep an eye out for this character / plot element for the rest of the drafts that I can delete as I go. But just from the main chapter, if you will, where all this was introduced, I've already managed to delete a full 1,000 words. So I'm really happy about that. I do still have some things that I need to figure out, because this specific element tied some more smaller things together that I kind of have to see how I'm gonna figure that out, like how everything now is gonna be tied together so that it all makes sense. So it's gonna be a bit of a challenge. I'll get through it just a chapter at a time, but I have a few chapters in mind that I'm already like, how am I gonna do that once I get there? How am I gonna fix all of that? I'm not exactly sure yet. I originally was also working in part 3 of the book, but with some of the changes I've made, especially with some of the things that I was deleting, I realized that the part where part 3 should start was now a little bit differently. So originally part 3 started at chapter 18. Now it is starting at chapter 21. I wrote all of the chapters because I edited up to chapter 21. Chapter 21 is the one I'm working on right now. I edited chapter 19 and 20 with the idea of, yep, they're in part 3. And then I started to look at everything again and rearrange it. Well, not necessarily rearranging some things, checking that everything was in the right place. And then I realized, like, it would make so much more sense for these two chapters to be in part 2. But my brain is such a scattered mess at the minute that I'm gonna have to look over it again and see if I actually liked what I did there. But I do want to wait a few days more before I do that. I already did it a few days ago, but I am so brain foggy these last few days that I'm not gonna worry about that as of right now. The chapter that I just edited today, well, started editing yesterday, finished editing today, was a pretty big chapter as well. And I actually had to dig up some old notes to write one of these characters that was in there because it introduced a new character. The character, I think, came out better, but I think mainly the thing that came out better was the narrator's voice during this scene, because in this scene specifically, he really didn't have much of a voice at all. And the voice that he did have was just a copy of another narrator's voice, which is really not good. He did not have his own voice in this scene, which I think he now does. It's much more true to his character and how he would react to the situation as compared to how another character would react to it, which is two different reactions entirely. He would react with fight, that other character would react with flight. It was a frustrating chapter to edit, absolutely. But I think it came out better for it with what I have now. These last few chapters, I've mainly had to add some words, which I think is still okay because I did cut like a huge chunk earlier in some of the chapters that I wrote. So I think that it's okay that some of those words are coming back. I just hope that now I can continue actually cutting in these next few chapters. I'm just noticing a pattern that with one specific point of view, there's a lot that I can cut. And another perspective where I need to add quite a few things because I think I've just finally properly figured out this character's voice. And that is changing the way that he talks, the way that he pays attention to things, so things that he does pay attention to, things that he doesn't pay attention to. And that has led to me having to add some words to actually properly put in his voice. So some of the words I'm cutting from one perspective are coming back in the other one. Not all of them. I'm still actively cutting words, but not really sure how I feel about that. We're now at 36,641 words. I can't say exactly how many words off that is, but we're cutting. We're cutting. However, that is going to be it for this video because I've been vlogging for quite a while. I need a video to put up on Friday. It is currently Wednesday, so I need a video to put up, and I haven't had the chance to film, so this is gonna be on the video so that I can edit this and put this up on Friday. So I hope that you enjoyed this chaotic mess of a video. I know that it was very chaotic. I still hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that me trekking through this book one last time before sending it to agents is interesting to you guys. I hope so, because I really enjoy making these videos. And if you like them as well, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel down below, and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.